In this video, I'm going to rank every single scoped assault rifle in Fortnite history from worst to best. Now, I have ranked every single scoped weapon before, but that video is over a year old at this point. It is significantly outdated, so I figured it was time to redo it, but this time with only scoped assault rifles. These are all assault rifles that come, well, equipped with a scope. For the Chapter 5 weapons, I will only be including those weapons whose mythics come with a scope, since obviously the scope cannot be removed. I'm going to give a quick honorable mention to Midas's Gilded Eye drum gun from Chapter 6 and Midas's drum gun from Chapter 5, right? Our drum guns SMGs, some websites they're listed as SMGs, sometimes they're ARs, nobody really knows, so for continuity's sake, I'm going to leave them off this list. If you do go on to enjoy this video, please be sure to use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop to help support my channel. And yeah, let's just get right into this ranking. At number 18, in my opinion, far and away the worst scoped assault rifle in Fortnite history, it's got to be the old thermal assault rifle. So yeah, on this list, I'm going to be splitting up the old thermal assault rifle and the new thermal assault rifle, since they are really just two entirely different weapons. And this version of the thermal assault rifle, the old one, is absolutely horrible. There's no other way to put it. Way too much recoil for really not that much damage, only 36. Like, this weapon would never be able to play in the current state of Battle Royale. It's just way too slow, way too clunky, and yeah, my only memories of this weapon are using it in Sniper Shootout back in the day. At number 17 is the regular scoped assault rifle, and yeah, while this weapon was the inspiration for this video, unfortunately it places really poorly on this list. It's kind of similar to the old thermal AR, where, you know, the fire rate is just too slow. You guys are going to see way higher up on this list, you have incredibly high fire rate scoped assault rifles that are doing big time damage with big time DPS output, and the regular scoped AR just doesn't provide that. Now, what I will say is, if you are one of the best players, like if you guys have ever watched Tfue with the scoped assault rifle, he will literally make this weapon look like it is the best assault rifle that has ever touched this game. The right hands, it can be good, but for the majority of people, in my opinion, it's just not good at all. At the number 16 spot is the new thermal assault rifle, and yes, it is significantly better than the old thermal assault rifle, but not good enough to push it really any higher up on this list. They basically just decrease the damage and then buff the fire rate up like crazy. Again, it was much needed, but it just can't compete with the best of the best. In fact, I don't even really think it was the best AR in its season in Chapter 3. At number 15 is the exotic heisted explosive assault rifle from Chapter 4, and let's be real here, it's just a pretty gimmicky AR, and I actually think the regular Redeye assault rifle is better than its exotic version. This projectile just travels too slow for me. Now, of course, you do get the added benefit of being able to do explosive damage, you know, not even needing to direct hit somebody to do damage on them. That is a good thing. But for me, I would rather just take the hit scan Redeye assault rifle than take the projectile heisted explosive assault rifle. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section down below. Moving on to number 14, that is the Chapter 4 version of the tactical assault rifle. It comes with a little red dot sight, and it absolutely pains me to put it this low on the list because this is one of my favorite weapons in Fortnite history. Not a lot of people even know that it existed. It was only a thing in Battle Royale for the beginning of Chapter 4, really. It just feels so satisfying to use. It has almost no recoil at all. This was the perfect weapon to track people that were flying through the air using shockwave hammers. But unfortunately, the damage is just not there, right? You are going to need to hit 5 body shots just to take somebody out with white health only. You can double that, basically 9 to 10 shots to take somebody out with full shield. Most of the time, that's just not going to happen. Anyways, moving on to number 13, it is Montague's Nemesis AR, and I'm ready to battle you guys in the comment section down below because I'm telling you, there will be people that will try and put this weapon inside the top 10 on this list, and it is not deserving of being inside the top 10. It was honestly even hard for me to put it at number 13 because, as you guys know, I am not a fan of the Nemesis AR, and the saving grace of this particular version of the Nemesis AR is you get the P2X optic on it. This is, in my opinion, the best optic in Fortnite history, but it kind of converts this weapon into almost like more like a marksman rifle than an assault rifle. I just really don't know anybody that was taking this weapon in particular. There is an assault rifle that will be much higher on this list from the exact season that this weapon was in that just totally outclasses this version of the Nemesis AR, and there's even an argument that it's potentially the worst mythic in Chapter 5 Season 1. At number 12 is going to be the MK Alpha assault rifle, again from Chapter 4. What was that? Season 3 now. It is just a a ripped off worse version of the MK7. There's genuinely nothing else to say. It's just got a little bit more recoil, slower fire rate, but a little bit more damage, but it is nowhere near as good as the MK7, and it's not meant to be, right? It's clearly meant to be a worse version of it. That's why they literally added an entire separate version of it instead of just nerfing the MK7 again. It's a serviceable weapon, but, you know, really nothing crazy. At number 11 is the most recent item on this list. It is the A280 CFE blaster rifle, of course, from Chapter 6, Season 3 Star Wars. And this is a really tough ranking for me, right? Because if you look at it kind of in a dome, right, against the other blaster rifles, this is arguably one of the best weapons in this season so far. And so it kind of begs the question, do I rank it how it's currently playing, or do I rank it on how it competes against other ballistic weapons? It's really tough to rank. I think it's a decent assault rifle. Obviously, it had the job of following up the Holo Twister AR, and it was never going to be as good as that, but it is your good version of the scoped AR this season, and I think this is a fair spot for it, pretty much kind of in the 50-50 spot. And all right, we are now inside of the top 10, and at my number 10 spot is going to be Ares Warforged AR from Chapter 5, Season 2. Now, don't be fooled by its number 10 placement here, because Ares Warforged AR is a really good assault rifle. In fact, if we're just looking at DPS only, this weapon has a DPS of 223, which is higher than some of the weapons inside the top 3. But the reason for me why this weapon falls to number 10 is because of that recoil. The recoil in this weapon is very shaky, and that doesn't go just for this version of the Warforged AR, it's for all of them. That's the whole thing with the Warforged. You get great damage at 31 damage a shot, but pretty difficult recoil to control, and truthfully, that's the reason why it falls down on this list, because otherwise, it's actually a pretty good weapon. Moving on to number 9, that is the Redeye assault rifle. This is one of those weapons that is like a true zero build demon weapon. I would say this was probably the most popular assault rifle of choice in Chapter 4 Season 1 and even into Chapter 4 Season 2 for a little bit. It's got a slower fire rate than some of the other weapons on this list, but the big time damage makes up for it, and you gotta remember, right, we're talking like kinetic blade and shockwave hammer seasons that this AR was in, and so this weapon in particular was so valuable because you needed something accurate. You needed something that you could, you know, pick people out of the air that were bouncing all over the place from 100 meters away. And this weapon fit that, you know, build perfectly. And that's why this AR was so popular, and it still remains popular this day. I think you could ask a lot of people. A lot of people really love the Redeye. But for me, the fire rate holds it back, right? Because it just, you can't use it at close range like you can with some of these weapons higher up on this list. But another weapon that you cannot use at close range at the number 8 spot is the Striker Burst Rifle. This is the 2-round burst assault rifle from mainly Chapter 3. And again, like when I think of some of the best weapons in zero build Fortnite history, I feel like this weapon is right up there. In the mythic version, you are looking at damage of 35 per shot, and for the most part, you typically will hit back-to-back shots with this weapon. It does have a little bit of bouncy recoil, but 70 damage, I mean, you are going to take that every single time. And it was really one of the best assault rifles in the entirety of Chapter 3, but definitely not the best. And we will talk about the best later on in this list. And now we move on to my number 7 spot. That is going to be the Lawless Accelerant Holo Twister Assault Rifle. And this is the point on the list where I genuinely think you could probably make an argument for any of these weapons to be at the number 1 spot. That is how hard these weapons were to rank. This is one of my hardest ranking videos I've ever had to make. And the Lawless Accelerant Holo Twister is one of the reasons why this list is so hard to make, because truthfully, how do you accurately rank this weapon? When it is fully charged up and it is at its fastest fire rate, this is the best assault rifle of all time. There's no question about that. It has the highest DPS out of any assault rifle when it is fully charged up. And in case you don't know, what I mean by that is this weapon increases its fire rate the longer that you hold the trigger. But I'm willing to bet that most of you guys who use this weapon never really reached that peak fire rate, because how often do you, fully hold down your assault rifle, especially a scoped assault rifle like this? I feel like most of the time people with this weapon will take, 5 to 10 shots when they see someone in the open, and then somebody will build, and then they'll stop shooting, and then it resets the fire rate all over again. And you got to remember, the damage on this weapon is equivalent to that of the common Holo Twister. So if you're not really utilizing the sped up fire rate, well, then you're just kind of using a common Holo Twister with a bonus, faster strafe speed. But you know what? Honestly, I certainly could see why somebody would put this weapon higher up on this list. Honestly, it's just personal preference. Anyways, at number 6, I've got the Twin Mag Assault Rifle, and before this weapon got nerfed in Chapter 6, this is probably at the number 2 spot. But lo and behold, it did get some, should I say, much needed nerfs in Chapter 6 that took it down from that pedestal that it was on in Chapter 4 as being potentially the best assault rifle ever. But I don't really need to talk about, how good this assault rifle was. I mean, after all, it was just in the game. I mean, you're ranging damage from 28 to 34 with a decently good fire rate of 5.4. Obviously, you get the, quicker reload every other one. A DPS of 183 in the legendary version that will absolutely play every single time. There is no doubt that this is one of the best assault rifles we've ever seen. At number 5 is truthfully my hot take for this video. I try and put in a hot take in every single video, and I think that is the Holo Twister assault rifle. Look, I'm not gonna lie, I think there is some recency bias going on because I see people chucking around like it's nobody's business saying that the Holo Twister assault rifle is the best assault rifle of all time. I see that being thrown around on Twitter all the time, and you know what? It could be, but in my opinion, it is not. Look, I'm not saying this weapon doesn't absolutely melt people. This thing does. It will just eviscerate anybody. But in fact, its DPS actually isn't that good. You're looking at 140 in the common version all the way up to 171 in the legendary version, and that's mainly because of a pretty slow fire rate at 5.2, and you only have a magazine size of 25. Now, I think where this weapon really excels is once you start getting into those higher rarities like purple and legendary, where you're doing 33 to 34 base body shot. This weapon is absolutely incredible, but it's not the best in my opinion. It is beaten out at the number 4 spot by Emma Frost Striker Burst Assault Rifle from Chapter 5 Season 4, and I'm telling you guys, this weapon is an absolute behemoth. This thing is a beast. A burst assault rifle with a DPS of 177 just shouldn't be possible. 37 base damage, guys, and that is scar damage. That is legendary scar territory, but you don't even have to worry about bloom because this is a scoped weapon. You are going to be incredibly accurate with it. You're probably going to hit both shots most of the time. You're looking at 74 damage, and I'm telling you, the reason why this weapon didn't get the love it deserved was because of Mosquito Simulator that was Chapter 5 Season 4, which really just made any assault rifle difficult to use. This is one of those assault rifles that I think if you took and put into another season, it would have gotten the love it deserved. It would have been crowned as one of the best assault rifles of all time, but here I am today in this video giving it the credit it deserves. It's absolutely beefy. It's insane. And all right, we are inside the top 3, and guys, at this point, these are just not only some of the best scoped assault rifles of all time, not just some of the best assault rifles of all time, these are some of the best Fortnite weapons we've ever seen. And at that number 3 spot, it's going to be the MK7 assault rifle. Of course, you guys all know the story of the MK7. There was a time for multiple months where this was the best weapon in Fortnite history. Really, no question about it. Especially its mythic version, the Foundation's MK7. It's still absolutely insane, don't get me wrong, even after all the nerfs. But that is, I think, in my opinion, the strongest Fortnite weapon I've ever used. Obviously, besides, like, the stupid stuff like the Infinity Blade and Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet. That version of the MK7 is the best Fortnite weapon, honestly, I've ever used. And even after its nerfs, it's absolutely insane. Of course, you are looking at very, very low body shot damage at, 18 in the common and then 22 in the legendary, but that fire rate of 9 is unreal. That's what gives it its value with a magazine size of 35, if you can believe it. That is going to equate to a DPS of almost 200, which is just absolutely unbelievable. This is truthfully a top tier Fortnite weapon. At my number 2 spot on this video is going to be the Machinist Combat Assault Rifle from Chapter 5 Season 3. And look, Chapter 5 Season 3 normally does not get much respect in my videos, and yeah, for a good reason, but this weapon is one of the good things about Chapter 5 Season 3, especially if it was in your hands. If you were going against this weapon, yeah, it's not a good thing for you. I think I tend to underrate this weapon in a lot of my previous videos, but after taking a deep dive in it for this video, because honestly, this video was just so hard to make, I really had to look into every single weapon. Yeah, this thing's absolutely insane. A DPS of 220. That is almost the highest DPS ever for an assault rifle. Base body shot damage of 25 with a fire rate of almost 9. That is almost the same as the MK7, but you're doing 3 more damage. So obviously, it's just natural that this weapon has to be ahead of the MK7. It is absolutely unbelievable. I don't think anyone is denying that. But you know what? It's not at the number 1 spot today. The number one spot on my ranking of every single scoped assault rifle in Fortnite history, it is Nisha's Striker AR, and I think this is one of, if not the most slept on weapons in Fortnite history. I'm telling you, it is the recency bias talking that people are saying, you know, the Hollow Twister is the best assault rifle of all time. No, this weapon is. A DPS of 235 is truthfully unbelievable with a fire rate of 8, right? That's only one slower than the Machinist combat assault rifle and the MK7, but you are now doing 29 damage a shot. I mean, that is 7 more than the MK, and what, like 4 more than the Machinist combat AR. Now, the only downside to this weapon, truthfully, the only downside, I guess, besides its recoil is, it is a projectile weapon, but you have to remember it was only in Chapter 5, and it was only going against other projectile weapons. If this thing was hit scan, I mean, I don't even want to get started on how good it would be. Seriously, this weapon is in contention for the best Fortnite weapon in history, and it is definitely the best scoped assault rifle we have ever seen. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that ranking video. Let me know if you would want to see this with another weapon class. Maybe, I don't know, would it work with like the SMG category? Whatever. Anyways, this list was so difficult to make. This is one of my hardest lists I've ever had to make because there are just so many loaded weapons on here. Let me know in the comment section down below if there's anywhere you would disagree or any spots that you would potentially change. If you did go on to enjoy it, be sure to leave it a like, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace.